was reported this morning on Montana Talk Radio that some gas stations on the West Coast are recalibrating their pumps to their pump readouts to accommodate double digits, i.e. $10 a gallon gas. I'm sure glad we know what pronoun to use, pushing back and questioning everything. He is referring to the state of Washington. They're resetting the price boards to accommodate double digits in preparation for fuel prices potentially reaching $10 a gallon. A 76 spokesperson told the Post Millennial that the change did not necessarily mean the company was predicting gas prices would reach $10 a gallon. They're also talking about race fuel. That's through the roof to buy that stuff.
You always talk about having the number. $10 a gallon is going to be a number for some people.
The average price of a gallon of gas in Washington State is $5.18, well above the national average of $4.59. The most expensive gas in the nation can be found in California, where motorists in and around San Francisco pay more than $6 a gallon. We're headed for a very troubling situation here. I thought I had another report on that, too.
Well, if you just bought a electric car,
right,
you wouldn't have that problem.
I better clarify, too, by the way, Kenny, before we get inundated with email.
I'm also looking at the map, Chris.
The Arboretum is in both Chanhassen and in Chaska.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, I found that out, but I wasn't going to say anything.
And I can
just
say
gonna
this,
let you
I
hang.
used to live less than a mile from the Arboretum, so anyway.
As the average price of gas reached $6 per gallon in California on Tuesday, analysts at J.P. Morgan are warning that price could be the norm everywhere in the country by the end of summer. The national average is now $4.57 per gallon, according to the American Automobile Association. That number is a 16-cent increase from the average last week, a 48-cent increase over last month, and nearly $1.50 more expensive than the national average last year, which was $3.04. Every state now has an average gas price above $4 per gallon, with Georgia, Kansas, and Oklahoma catching up to the rest of the country yesterday.
Wow.
Chicken wings.
Let's go. What kind do you want?
French fries.
Reavers and I were talking before the show.
Hey, guys, buckle up for this.
Yep.
We were talking before the show.
Let me in.
I don't like being this voice of doom. But everywhere I look,
Yep. It's everywhere.
I can't find a great deal of positivity.
It's Thursday.
And it's there. It's out there. You experienced it last night.
I was in Cologne, Minnesota. They invited me to be the public address announcer for their town baseball game. I had a blast, and I'm telling you right now, go to a town ball game. It's Americana at its best.
But see,
But I was in Cologne, Minnesota, not the Twin Cities.
But that's an example of a little time warp. You then, at the end of that experience, you must re-enter this world where moms can't get baby formula, where gas is really starting to be a stretch, where food prices are not only going up, but the lack of fertilizer around the world is going to result possibly in food shortages. I don't know how dramatically it would affect the United States. I don't know why it would not. I heard an implement dealer on the radio say if you order a new tractor today, you might get it by the fall of 2023. The Washington Post headline, top Biden health officials sound warning on rising coronavirus infections, that as we head into Memorial Day, we're going to be seeing 100,000 new infections a day.
Wow.
If you put this country back into lockdown, I don't know what would happen.
Good luck to you.
I don't know what would happen.
I kind of have a feeling, don't you guys?
It'll be ignored.
It'll be all-out mayhem if it's tried to be enforced, don't you
if they
think?
try to enforce it.
Right.
Yeah, that's where the mayhem's going to come. People are going to ignore it, Joe.
Where's this from? Yeah,
At least in the outskirts they will. Maybe, tall buildings.
But then again, like we saw the second wave, Kenny, once you're inside it, like let's say Minneapolis and St. Paul institute another mask mandate, whatever they try to do, they're just going to lose business and places are going to close down.
Here's from the Orange County Register. With a gallon of milk up 25% since before the pandemic, and retail bacon 35% higher. It's hard to imagine how U.S. food inflation could get any worse, but evidence suggests that even higher prices are on the horizon. Take the case of Jeff Good, who co-founded 3 restaurants in Jackson, Mississippi. Around 18 months ago, a 40-pound box of chicken wings cost him $85. Now it can go as high as roughly $150. Expenses for cooking oil and flour have nearly doubled the past 5 months, he said. But it's not just ingredient prices going up. He's paying more for labor and services, too. Even the company that maintains its air conditioners has tacked on a $40 fuel charge per visit. To cope, he's raised menu prices. A 15-piece order of chicken wings, a signature dish at his Sal and Mookie's Pizzeria, was $13.95 before COVID hit. Now wing costs vary so much they're labeled at market price, like some restaurants do with lobsters. At peaks, the menu price can be $27.95, but that represents a barely there margin, and Good estimates the real cost is closer to about $34. He's trying to decide whether to keep raising prices or just taking wings off the menu. We have not ever seen anything like this, said Good, who opened his restaurants nearly 30 years ago. The difference between prices received by producers for their goods and those paid by everyday customers at cash registers can be seen by comparing the product and consumer price indices. This is just incredible. But many food costs measured in the food index have been accelerating faster than the consumer price index rate. In April, average wholesale food prices in index jumped 18% from a year earlier, according to government data released May 12. It was the largest 12-month increase in nearly 3 decades. Eggs were up 22%, butter 51%, fats and oils 41%, and flour 40%. This is according to the National Restaurant Association.
Holy crap.
Such, when you're out and about, where's your favorite spot to get some wings?
UB-Dubs?
Wing City, I think.
I don't do wings.
You don't do wings?
No.
Boneless? You like boneless?
They're too messy.
Unlike mussels?
Muscle.
Yeah.
I
he's a
muscles under
champion.
control.
He's a champion muscle consumer.
You know what this is leading up to? Depression.
Famine and pestilence.
The depression type tactics. We're going to be washing aluminum foil. We're going to be reusing paper plates. We're going to be saving virtually everything.
But all we have to do, you guys, we have to tax the wealthiest corporations, and that will cure inflation.
Do you want to play a what-if game?
Sure.
Would any of the problems we're having now exist if Trump was still in office?
Oh, my God. I am shutting off the email.
I'm only asking
I'm
Joe.
forwarding them to you.
I'm only asking Joe.
I'm on mute, okay?
I think
Because what I want, and the reason I ask, I'll tell you, is because I want to run this entire administration right out of the White House. But then, then I started with the deep thoughts, and that's what brought up the question.
I guess what I would answer you is you'd have to factor in just how specifically Russia's attack of Ukraine has factored in.
That's what I came up with.
But
too.
this
Yeah.
inflation started
It
well
started way
before
before
this.
that. I do think
Yes.
under Trump we would not have the fuel problems we're having.
Of course we wouldn't.
Well,
But in terms of food and shortages and supply chain problems, I'm not sure that his administration would have had much to say about that.
Gentlemen,
I
2
don't
years
know that-
ago, gas was less than $2 a gallon.
would any administration? I mean,
Well, here's
I don't want to let this SOB off the hook, but I don't know.
Well, here's another way to look at it. The Democrats apparently are very fearful of really suffering tremendous losses in the midterms, right? What are they doing about it?
Making things worse.
Okay, what are they doing? What are their
Politicizing-
ideas? What are their ideas?
They're starting a race war. They're politicizing everything. They're trying to force us into solar and wind power. Go ahead, Chris. I'm out of answers.
They are single-handedly blaming everything on the pandemic. Instead of blaming it on the pandemic.
or the GOP or Trump.
No, and that I'm convinced now more than ever that because they have nothing, they could come out and say, Americans are struggling. We have got to ramp up our fuel production.
Why? That's what I don't get. Why aren't they?
Because they're ideologues. They're not helpful people. They're ideologues committed to their own sense of self and their own beliefs. And they believe they can stay in power by merely convincing the rest of us to go down the same road they're on, which is nothing but ruination. So instead of saying, let's do everything possible to increase supply chains. Let's do everything possible to begin ramping up our drill, baby, drill. Let's get some gas. That's what makes this country work. None of them are ever going to say that because they can't. It's just like, who's the new Supreme Court justice? The woman, Jackson?
Yes.
Cody
I can figure out
Barrett?
first
Oh,
name.
Jackson. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jackson.
I
Yes.
don't remember her first name.
Asked what a woman was. She couldn't answer it because she's an ideologue.
She was afraid to answer.
Because it would have offended her,
Yeah.
the 1% constituency that she represents. She doesn't
She
represent
knows.
me.
She knows the answer.
Is it-
She was afraid to answer.
Katanji? Is that
Yeah.
Brown
Okay, let me
Jackson?
finish this thought. So what do we get from them instead? We get a leaked Supreme Court document concerning Roe versus Wade.
And that
Yeah.
instantly becomes the biggest
That's
hot
the
button.
biggest
Yes.
story in the country. No, the biggest story in the country is moms can't feed their children. People cannot afford gas. We're facing higher and higher food prices.
Eggs have doubled. They were $2.67 for a dozen eggs today.
Inflation is not under control. And what do they have? They have rallies to threaten violence against Supreme Court justices if they overturn Roe versus Wade.